Welcome back to WCS America Premier League Day 2 in Season 2. It is going to be our final series of the day right now, our deciders match. Early today we saw Red Bull's Bomber advance to the round of 16 for his second appearance in, I won't say California, but that's not true because last season we played in Europe. But at least his second appearance in WCS America round of 16 as he did it before in Korea. And right now we will determine, is it going to be Crank joining him for his 5th consecutive season? That would be kind of insane, really impressive. Yeah. Or is it going to be NesTea? After he's been away for at least 2 seasons, is the old veteran going to make a comeback and enjoy us with his presence here in Southern California?
That's what we're going to decide here, guys. It's the final match of the evening, and our first player in the top left, looking to be one of the most consistent WCS America performers from Team Axiom. It is Crank, who was able to win in this matchup earlier against NesTea with some very interesting play. His opponent spawning in the bottom right position in the blue. It is, in fact, NesTea. As we've got a probe moving out.
It is indeed.
Fast pylon.
That is one hell of a fact.
Yeah.
We see NesTea sending out this drone as well to the north side. I am curious to see if Crank is going to drop a 12 or 13 forts. I'm going to keep a close eye on it. Or if he was planning to go for the next first. Now, he's rallying his rally point down right now. So this probe will head down and will most likely drop a fort. So in case NesTea wants to do something crazy, like drop a hatchery, like what he originally wanted to do on Overgrowth, that could have been a nightmare to deal with if that hatchery would have actually gone up. Because once again, if you just joined us, welcome. But they played against each other early today. Crank was able to win that series 2-1. But the game that NesTea won was a game where NesTea tried to drop a hatchery in the natural of Crank. Yeah. And I think those mind games definitely carry over to the second series of the day as well.
For sure, for sure. Spawning pool gets placed as soon as he sees that forge. So this is looking relatively standard as far as regular defensive play goes. I don't think we're going to see Crank. Who was it? Pig Baby in yesterday's games that still put the pylon down and potentially...
Yeah, he did it once, but the other day we casted a game, I think it was in Challenge as well, where someone still tried to cannon rush this after he dropped like a bunch of pylons and the cannons behind it. It was really bizarre. I haven't really seen that yet. NesTea instead is just going to expand over here on the 6 o'clock position, but Crank will be on top of that as he sends his probe down so he knows. And everything is indeed very standard so far. No crazy greed from either side, of course it couldn't really have been, as NesTea knew what was going on, and Crank is like, hey, if you go hatch first, I will cannon you. That's why I dropped my 13 forts, but if you don't, well, that's fine. I don't have to cannon.
It makes sense on a 2-player map, right? Easy to scout for both players. Although trying to pull a fast one on NesTea, who's likes drone scouting in this matchup from what we've seen, not going to be terribly easy. We actually saw a lot of similar kind of drone scouting, especially on this map from Revival in yesterday's game. So this kind of seems like a common thing to do. Must be a pretty solid cannon rush map, especially.
Strong opening over here by NesTea, at least economically in the long run. Despite opening up with that pool first, we still see 2 additional hatcheries going down before the 4-minute mark. That's still pretty much as as quick as you could have possibly wished for, unless you drop them before a spawning pool. Crank did not see that second hatchery go down yet, but obviously he's expecting it, because not very often you see someone take the 6 o'clock and then just stay on 2 bases for 6 minutes. A few Zergs have been messing around with that style a little bit, where they wait a lot longer to go up to 3 bases. Jadong is one of the Zergs who does it quite often, but I don't think it's a style that Protoss players really have to worry about too much, as long as you make the right choices against it. Then again, who am I to question Dong? I shouldn't even dare.
No, that's just one player no matter how much I ever know about this game, never question that guy's decisions. The probe is going to come down towards the map, and the fact that it's like seen like this, so he won't be able to get a pylon with it, obviously. He already knows about that hatchery that was put in the 3rd base area, but you know, I guess seeing the natural, you don't want to have any nightmares in your mind about the crazy things that NesTea could try to pull in this match, especially. He's already shown us some pretty wild builds.
Yeah, we see his target go down in the main base over here from Crank. We saw, of course, game 1 early today play out on Frost, which was the most random game that we have seen today, and we saw a couple of crazy things. And you might think like, that lift-off game with the drone pool, that must have been the most random thing you saw today. Like, no. A Zerg player on this level producing 12 Corruptors when there is absolutely nothing on the map those Corruptors can shoot at. That still defeats a lift-off for me.
I mean, you don't think, no, 10 Corruptors to kill the Oracle, right?
Yeah, that's right. Even though the Oracle is way faster and you even need some luck with that. That was definitely the most random thing, so I think Crank from this point on is going to be like, you know what, I'm not going to go anything crazy, I'm not going to try to rely on gateway pushes. Crank is an excellent late game player as well. We'll probably just open up with an Oracle again, drop some Revelations, make sure that he won't get surprised. Of course, activate Pulsar Beam if he can pick up a couple of drones. But after that game on Frost, he has to feel like, well, NesTea, it seems like you are on autopilot mode over there. If that's how you play this matchup right now, whenever I'm going up into Colossus in 3 bases, then I would like to see you do that again, because I'm pretty sure I can hold.
Another thing Crank does a really good job of is trying to take these third bases, especially on that Frost game. This map, it's still kind of open-ish like it was on Overgrowth, where that base was able to be denied by NesTea, the game that he was able to win in the first series. But he's going double evolution chamber back home, getting his Zergling speed as well. Maybe we'll see more of that Roach Ling setup, of course. No gold minerals on this map, but Oracle runs into the natural. He's going to get 3, almost 4 drones instantly. And this is quite nice. He can just sit here with impunity, poking away, lose his shields, and then run away from the Queen. With no Spore Crawler there, that's definitely a nice little pickup for Crank.
I don't really understand this though. Like, NesTea sees this Stargate. Earlier today he lost quite a few drones against an Oracle and he just doesn't make a Spore Crawl. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of Protoss players sitting there at home right now like, this doesn't make any sense. I'm in Diamond League and my opponents always have a Spore Crawler when I open up with an Oracle. And all I can say is this, guys, I feel the same way. Like, if I open Oracle, I can only dream about getting damage done like that. It's not game-ending damage as in the end. And, well, I mean, 6 drones is actually very nice. And also a little bit of mining time lost. But what I do like, other than the fact that he should have dropped those spores, I think, a little quicker, is that he dropped the 4th hatchery immediately. He saw Crank going up to 3 bases, and there are always 2 ways to go with it. 1, you produce a lot of units and you try to cancel it. Or 2, you be like, cool, so you're going to produce probes 3 at a time. Let me just drop another hatchery and I'm going to squeeze out so many drones that you might have a good economy, but I will have an insane economy. And now I really wonder where he's going to take this. And we also see already, this is slightly different, he's focusing on melee upgrades. I really wonder where NesTea is going to go with this, but so far I like it though.
Yeah, it could potentially be some sort of fast hive style as well, which you've seen a little bit of. That Oracle still skirting around is nice because you don't have to use a hallucination to scout, and it even throws the Revelation on this base, so he'll know exactly when this layer finishes. He can keep his eyes on even maybe when the upgrades finish, or at least a little bit of them, and checks the 4th base, so he knows mostly what's going on for NesTea. He sees the layer is done, and his +2 attack is on the way. He's got his Warp Prism and Charge. This game, I mean, it's hard to say, at least I feel, like who exactly has any type of lead. What would you say?
I kind of like NesTea's position just because it was absolutely insane economy and uncontested 4 bases. He's dropping a Spire now as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go for a really big meter switch. I think that Crank is focusing on maybe harassing a little too early over here. This is like a very early Warp Prism. I don't know where he's going to take this, or what is he going to pick up. I guess these 4 Zealots. It's a little bit risky. He still has his Oracle as well. I think if NesTea shuts it down, if he doesn't take any damage from this Prism, which I think he spotted already with these Zerglings, this is shaping up quite nice for him. And if NesTea decides to make a stupid amount of Mutalisk, then I think that this is going to be a beautiful game for him. There's not a single Phoenix out on the map, and even if Crank starts producing Phoenixes, by the time that NesTea starts making like 15 Mutalisk, it's almost impossible to ever catch up in a count. Oracle is going to fly in right now and he sees the Spire, and then I really wonder what is Crank going to do. Is he going to drop a Fleet Beacon and a 2nd Stargate, or is he just going to try to defend with Blink Stalkers? If it's the latter, I think that's a very ballsy call, and then he's a more brave man than I am.
Well, he does have Blink on the way, but he's beginning to build those Phoenix. I'm mostly interested to see if he adds in any additional Stargates. Like you said, that's where things can get really crazy. The heavy Phoenix play versus those Mutalisks, and the Spire's done. He's got his +1 attack on the way. He's actually going to drop Zealots on the Spire. Now, if he could pick this off, there's 8 Corruptors on the way again, by the way, which feels really funny, like almost deja vu, because I don't think he's seen any Colossi on this map. He will be able to pick off the Spire. That's a nice pickup. But
yeah, actually killing the Spire is a mess pickup. I do not understand the Corruptors either, unless he thinks that he can win this game with, you know, just Ling Bane and then using like Ling Corruptor and using look so many Zerglings over here for NesTea. So I guess he was going for a well-upgraded Zergling style and then using Corruptors, because of course, what's the best Protoss unit against Zerglings? Normally you would say that's, you know, it's Colossus, even though Storm and Archons are very good too. But Crank is not making any Colossus yet, so these Corruptors are definitely a small overkill.
We once again have Corruptors on the map when... I mean, is there anything that you really... I guess he built Phoenix as a response to the Spires, so now the Corruptors can kill those?
Crank will be as surprised about his Corruptors as we are, I can guarantee you that. We see 2 more gates go down. +2 is about to finish up for NesTea, so he will have an insane amount of Zerglings, but look at the money. Like, this build is just not really connecting for NesTea. Unless even if he morphs every single Zergling into a Baneling, I still don't think it's connecting, and I still don't think that would be very successful either, as, you know, as there are a bunch of sentries, and I don't know. I think Crank right now is just like, yeah, man, I totally got Colossus. You should make some more Corruptors like you did earlier today.
This has been a very interesting
This actually
matchup.
brings tears to my eyes.
All the games these guys have played today. All right, so we got 6 Spine Crawlers on the way for Nest, 7 Spine Crawlers on the way for NesTea somewhere on this map. Infestation Pit is on the way. And he is morphing, as you said, a decent number of Banelings. He's getting Baneling speed. He's like, I gotta do something with these Zerglings.
Like, how can you... There's no way that an attack on this level is going to work where you're playing against a player that's evenly skilled or even better than you, and you have 1,500, 2,000 minerals in the bank. Like, this is... I don't think that there's any way that this attack is like a game-ending attack.
He has 16 Spines on the way at that 3rd base area by the Baneling nest. I have to imagine he's going to make the most, at least potentially one of the larger Mutalisk switches we've seen. Zealot does get picked off there, potentially a probe. The Oracle comes over, gets hit. Oh, the Oracle gets killed by Corruptors again. So he got something.
Deja vu all over.
I want to see, like, how about Baneling drops? How about that?
Alright, here we go.
Something.
Now, this is more how we like it. We see 24 Mutalisks being produced at the same time. A big Zealot weapon in the main base as well, but I think these Midas, those are scary. That's a scary amount of Mutalisks, especially because there is still gas in the bank. NesTea has just created 25 Midas. He has 2-2 on his Zerglings. He has 8 Corruptors on the map. He lost his Spire once, and he still has gas in the bank. That shows that he has macroed well. Crank is marching across the map. If this turns into a base trade, he's going to lose everything at home incredibly fast, because you don't want to base trade 2-2 Zerglings and like 30 Mutalisks or something. Crank? I don't think he can win a base trade.
No, he's going to leave a couple of Stalkers behind. He's sending everything else back. Even these Zealots at +3 are going to have a hard time dealing with this many Zerglings, warping in more and more. He's on like an Immortal in a production tab. Like, these units aren't really doing too much for him. Stalkers actually managed to pick off a few of the mutants trying to go towards that natural. But this is... I mean, even building Phoenix might not work because there's Corruptors.
Yeah, no, this is promising. Even if he starts making Phoenix right now, it's so hard to like catch up in Phoenix count when your opponent already has like 25 Mutalisks. This is very smart by NesTea. Look at these 2-2 Zerglings as well, ravaging everything over here in the 3rd base. Now this is what we want to see. It makes so much more sense. Right now we do see that Crank, he's going to try to rebuild Phoenixes, but how are you ever going to be able to produce enough Phoenixes to catch up against like 30 Mutalisks when you have 1 Stargate and no Fleet Beacon, and you just took quite some economic damage as well? I feel there is almost no way. He does have a Templar Archives, I believe, unless it got cancelled.
And like even counterattacking into the Great Wall of Spine Crawlers at this 3rd base, that's not even an option. Like,
imagine if you're...
that's got a big no sign on it.
Mutalisk are just trading against Stalkers, normally not really trades you want to make, but NesTea has been so incredibly rich because his macro was excellent. And he dropped that 4th base immediately. Now we see the Fleet Beacon, and now we see the 2nd Stargate, which I almost feel is something that Crank should have done the very first moment when he saw that Spire. Even though, you know, killing that Spire may have tricked him into a false sense of security. I don't think that like NesTea let that Spire die because of that. That would be the deepest mind game that we have gone into in the last previous days. But
lets your opponent kill your Spires so that they don't prepare for the Muta switch.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I almost feel like I've seen it all in the last 2 days.
It's an enlightening experience with these players, the crazy games they brought. +1 air weapons is coming in for Crank. He's gonna try his best to recover.
But it's 40 Mutalisks. I feel like these 40 Mutalisks can fly in, kill all the Stalkers, and kill the Phoenixes.
Yeah, I don't even think there's enough on the ground to actually pick it off anymore.
It's 40 Mutalisks.
The Mutas have +1 attack.
The longer he waits, the more likely it is that Crank will save. I really felt there was a moment where Crank would have, or he could have just flown in and at least killed this base again. Maybe not in range of Photon Overcharge if you're risky. But now that Phoenix count is climbing, it's definitely not there yet where it has to be. But with 2 Stargates pumping out Phoenixes, at least we're getting somewhere. Crank is making a 2nd Templar Archives. Not a very good idea. Especially not next to each other, you know. If you're spreading them out, I would say okay, but...
Hey man, those are... You need two Templar for an Archon, 2 Templar Archives, right?
Other,
Really,
race,
so the spine
other
crawlers.
races would be so happy with that.
Yeah. So he's going to pick up a few of these zealots on the map. I mean, he's got map control. Like, there's no question about
There is
that.
map control written all over these units.
Yeah. I mean, he's become the warden of King Sejong Station. He's the ticket master of the station. Coming around, and he's going to check these probes. Not too much. The Guardian Shields pop. Phoenix are going to try to trade as best as they can. Blinks up. But, you know, NesTea can afford to replace everything he loses super quickly. Crank has reestablished that third base, but I don't think he's fully saturated on his gases or, you know, just keeping everything. Well, that's actually a lot of Archons. So we'll fly into that.
He just bought 5 of them.
That's one way to come back.
Even NesTea. Even NesTea is like, you know what? Sometimes maybe Swarmos is the best option. As he did lose, of course, that fourth base. Like, NesTea had an insane economy. This is a very well protected hatchery. I do not recommend sending Zelos trying to kill this base. But like NesTea's economy took a little bit of a blow after, you know, he lost their base and he made all those Zerglings. He invested in upgrades. Here come these Mutalisks again, picking up a couple of Stalkers in the process. I think even an Immortal will go down. A few Probes are going to go down as well. And these Archons, they want to come in, but they're a little late to the party.
Yeah, they have the Sim City. Actually.
Oh, they can't actually come in. Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward for them. These Phoenix are still trading. He actually canceled the Enduring Locust upgrade, by the way, and he's getting Pathogen Glands now, so he wants to go for Infestors.
NesTea, a man of honor. Like, for a second, he's like, I don't want to be that guy. And there was like a dark voice in him. Like, NesTea, be that guy. Make Swarmos. He's like, no, I'm NesTea. I'm a 3-time GSL champion. I don't want to be that guy. Then in the end, the Angel won. NesTea ain't that guy.
No Swarm hosts today. 3 Immortals are going to go to the right side to pick off a hatchery that is in construction. Meanwhile, Cranky's being very reserved with his Phoenix. He doesn't want to move them out with the army because these Archons, I mean, you can't attack this with the Mutalisks, but these Spine Crawlers, they're going to do... I don't think this is assailable right now.
No, the Spine Crawler is actually very good against Archons. Archons, of course, don't have a whole lot of range. These Immortals will get picked off. These Immortals would have been awesome against all these Spines, but they don't really serve any other
He
purpose.
picks off a few of these Corruptors. That's nice.
That's trading a little bit, but he doesn't have any High Templars with Storm. I mean, like, in a straight-up fight, yes, Frank can win. Okay, now we do see 5 Swarm. Did Enduring Locust finish, or he canceled the upgrade? Now NesTea's like, damn it, I have to be that guy. This really is the best option.
I actually cannot fight this head-to-head, man. Yeah. You ever play a game where you get like 3 or 4 Archons and you just like one-shot a whole clump of Mutas? It's the most beautiful thing you'll see in this game.
Yes, I know all about it.
NesTea doesn't want to be that guy.
No, he doesn't want to be on that end of the trade. These Phoenix is doing a good job, Crank getting a couple of nice shots off, just chipping away at these Corruptors slowly but steady. But like I said before, NesTea is not as rich as he once upon a time was. The Swarmos did hatch. Now NesTea is like, how do I use this unit? I have not made this unit a whole lot in my career.
Instructions. Place in ground face towards opponent.
Okay, right click. Then magic happened. Every time Locust spawn is like, not bad.
And the Chia Pets of StarCraft.
He doesn't have Enduring Locust though. I wonder if he's aware of the fact that he canceled that upgrade.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't really have a lot of creep spread either, so those Locusts won't go too far.
He does have Infestors. I'm not sure if they're burrowed around the map, because a couple of Fungos on these Phoenixes could of course be fantastic. Just 1 or 2 Fungos can change everything. This
9
is like,
Archons too.
Yeah, this is like an anti-Mutalisk army if I've ever seen one. It's like you can have 100 Mutalisk, and I don't think that you can kill this army.
Yeah.
Maybe you can. Maybe with 100.
The perfect like split. If you could perfectly split 100 Mutas, then you
but
probably
like
deserve
this
it.
army would melt. Like there's no chance.
Yeah.
Unless the Phoenixes would just like refuse to attack. Unless like everything would go on the Corruptors. The Corruptors are well split and they soak up a lot of Archon shots. Either way, we see more and more Infestors. I would love to see some Burrow Infestor used, especially against all these Phoenixes. Either way, this is turning into a fairly entertaining game. Who could have thought?
Yeah, one Archon by itself does get picked off, though. You can still see it does a reasonable amount of splash damage. The Phoenix trying to corner this army. Like, if he could just find some way to corral these Mutalisks into the Archons, then that could perhaps be it. And he's actually doing a good job, because the right side, the Phoenix are waiting, the Archons are on the left side. All he needs to do is not lose all these Phoenix, and then he's going to at least trade reasonably well. And look at that supply. Where does the rest of the money, though, go for NesTea? He has a very sizable bank.
I really don't think he's sure. He's just trying to micro these Mutalisks right now, trying to make the best of it. He knows that they're kind of trapped, and he knows until they're safe, until they're in range of Infestors, they're going to have a hard time against these Phoenixes. more Swarmos in production right now, but there is still no Enduring Locust upgrade. All of these Corruptors have died, and all of these Mutalisks have died.
More Swarm hosts.
Yeah, and he has a lot of static D as well. He has Infested. Like, this is a nightmare army to attack into for this army. It's like Locust, Fungal Grove, and Spine Crawlers. Like, this could not be any worse for Zealots.
No, not at all. These Swarmos are starting to bro. Picks them up with the Phoenix, a couple of them. There's only one observer on the map to help spot these, so getting some of the Infestors as well is quite nice. This is a weird position because he can still kill the Hive while
there's an observer as well with these Phoenixes, so they're actually doing really well. There's not a single Spore Crawler here. Fungal Grove is doing some damage against these Stalkers, but these Phoenixes being really annoying, and suddenly the Swarmos count is only at 10. 10 is not super terrifying, like it's scary, but there are Archons over here as well. Maybe some splash damage can kill. This Hive is actually going to fall, I think.
Oh, definitely just. I mean,
he just refuses.
Nah, he's not building anything that necessitates the the Hive, but that's still a big loss. He won't be able to get any Vipers try to chew anything out, and it misses a fungal on the Phoenix. So
man, this one observer has been worth its weight in gold because these Phoenixes have killed so many Swarmos.
I think that observer gets MVP. If that thing's on the other side of the map, that fight becomes a whole different ball game.
For the NBA fans, observer, you're the real MVP.
Give him a plaque.
6 Corruptors on the way right now for NesTea. I think that NesTea has successfully, I don't know, I wouldn't say thrown this game, but that's not really true yet because Crank is not particularly rich himself. He still has to fight a lot of free units, but I feel like his army is quite a bit stronger than the army of NesTea. NesTea used most of his energy as well. There is still an observer here, which actually just like in range of NesTea. NesTea's like, hey, this observer, it's been kind of annoying. I'm gonna use my Corruptors.
Well,
no, I see a Robo-Bay being thrown down. If I was Crank, I would just build another base immediately because I don't really think that NesTea is going to attack or move out anytime soon.
Losing those mutas and then that fight with all the Infestors and Swarmos. Crank has done everything necessary to come back in this game. Now he just needs to play solid, finish strong. NesTea's not out of it, but NesTea has been the player that's kind of spoiled an opportunity at this game much earlier on.
Yeah, I like how Crank's playing this right now. Second Robo-Bay, and going for another base. No matter how bad your economy is, Crank, NesTea's economy is just as bad. And NesTea actually lost more in those previous engagements than you did. Take a look at the unit loss resource tab as well. Of course, NesTea has been mining more than his opponent, but this is like almost a 10,000 resource difference, which is a lot.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, the amount of resources he's spent trying to kill him. And this Zergling run-by runs into the Archon meat grinder.
One happy Zergling.
One lone survivor.
Oh, no! Come on, overkill.
I made it out. I made it.
That's how nightmares start, man. It's like you dodge bullets left and right, then you think you're free, and then like the next big thing flies in. And
it's like how every horror movie ends.
Yeah.
So the fourth base, I don't know if I can even call it a fourth. His base. The base he really needs is about to complete. And this is Crank kind of, like, I'm surprised, honestly, he's be able to put so much out of those 3 bases that he had because they're all pretty much completely mined out now. But NesTea, nothing left in his main, third, or natural. They're both basically on 1 base economy
Did
now.
he lose the infestation pit?
Yeah, he lost that with the Hive.
So it was kind of bad. I mean, he does have a layer in his main. He could rebuild it. I think NesTea's not sure what he wants to build. I think he might go for Mutalisk again. Don't you think so?
I think if he can...
I think he's going to go for Mutalisk.
He has to kill those Archons first, though. Like, the Phoenix is still alive as well.
He's not worried about the Archons. He's going to make Mutalisk just cripple the economy of his opponent.
I guess. If he can snipe the base.
Because, like, the Phoenix count is not that high. I think what he's going to hope for is 1 Fungal with the Corruptors, and then he's going to make Mutas. And I know that, like, making Mutas against all these Archons sounds bad, but... these Archons can't attack into the Swarmos. Colossus is the only thing on the production tab.
Yeah, like he has everything he needs right now to build 30 Mutalisks.
Yeah.
Certainly an option. Is he going to attack into the grid?
Is there ever a wrong time to make 30 Mutalisks, Nathan? That is what I'm wondering right now, and the answer is no. There's always a time and a place for 30 Mutalisks.
I
think they have... Yeah, Fungal! Yeah, that's exactly what he wants!
The Corruptor's going in. He doesn't really get too much, but...
I got one.
I'm just like, how long do you need to wait before you spend it? Because he's got a lot of supply.
Like, he wants to make sure that when he does it, it's a proper Muta switch. Bam! 90. Oh, he has no larva. First world... No, he does have larva. Why? Oh, the 33. Okay, there we go. 33 Mutalisk on the way against currently 6 Phoenixes and suddenly this double robo tag. Guys, ignore everything I said a few minutes ago. Crank, come on. How can you go double robo right now? Like, there's so many things. Just kidding. It made perfect sense to go double robo. That was definitely the right play. But I'm afraid that if he's going to try to base trade, he's going to lose. Because there's so many Middleists. Oh no, it's a Void Ray!
This is a very scary position to be in. I don't know how to feel about this anymore. Like the mutas,
like
they could all just
position.
yeah. Can't the mutas, like if he doesn't defend, the mutas can just go kill his economy. The mutas can go snipe his 4th base.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to engage this army because if he does attack into the Great Wall of Spines, then with the Mutalisks he could probably break the army.
Look, here are the Phoenixes. Phoenixes are flying right. They're gonna make sure that nothing is happening.
Oh no.
Is he actually gonna hide it all the
Oh
way?
no.
This is so cool.
He's gonna go snipe this 4th base. Crank attacks. Wait, where'd the spine crawlers?
He moved them, I think.
Oh, well, I guess that base is kind of mining out anyway. He's
Yeah,
relocating.
NesTea is in full base trade mode right now. Like, somewhere Mr. Bitter is clapping because he lost mutas and base trades. And now Crank is like, come on, seriously, really? Well, I'm gonna make Phoenixes again. Does he still have 2 Stargates?
Yeah, but he doesn't have much money.
Where's the second Stargate though?
It's in his main base. He's only building one at a time.
Okay.
This is a rough spot to be in. Colossus gets picked off as well. Every unit that, like all the units that are good at killing the mutas, yeah, they're good. But if the mutas kill any of the other units, then the swarm hosts get much stronger as well.
You know, now I really don't know how this is gonna go because oh, he's moving all the spines to this fresh new base. That's sick play by NesTea. I didn't even anticipate that. NesTea's like, yeah, sure, kill this base.
If you get fungled on these spines, that could be game-ending. Gets the Archons, especially. They don't have the range to fight back. More fungals being thrown in. This wave of Locusts, you could almost even bring the mutas in with this now. And look at this. As these Archons die, the mutas become exponentially more powerful. That splash damage is so important. And yeah, he's going to graze through a lot of these spines, but I mean, I think Mutalisks could almost end this now.
Yep, Mutalisks are going to end this, especially with Locust support as well. Here are 40 Mutalisks, and all that remains are a few Stalkers and a bunch of Phoenixes. And these Phoenixes, yes, you know, eventually, in theory, they could clean this all, but it is very, very unrealistic. All of these Colossus are going to fall, and NesTea is going to win a ridiculous game on King Seong Station, but entertaining it sure was.
Wow. That was, I don't really have words for that. We saw the switch into Mutalisks, the switch into Swarm Hosts, and then switch back into Mutas. And Crank had the perfect anti-Muta army. You know, like, where is his opportunity to really punish that? If he stops the hatchery from going up before the spines get there, maybe?
I mean, I think you can put it a little bit to him not scouting actively enough in the late stage of the game. Of course, you can say it's always hard to scout, but there should always be a way. Like, he knew that NesTea was mining off a base, but NesTea's army was not growing. And this is very easy, by the way. Like, I'm just sitting, I'm explaining it, because, like, if I'm playing, I also get always surprised. So I'm not doing any better. And I know that it's hard, but as a true top-level Protoss, I guess the best thing is, like, you constantly want to check. You constantly want to check, like, what is he making? What is spawning? And if nothing is spawning, then you might have to think about, like, what could I still potentially die to? I thought the double Robo Colossus was the right way to go at it, as we're going to take another look at the final moments of this game. But on this moment, like, the time was already Crank's enemy after losing that 4th base against, like, 40 Mutalisks. And I must say props to NesTea for not researching enduring Locust. I think that is a very many thing to do.
The worst part about all of this is if you want to win the head-to-head fight with the Mutas, you need those Archons. And we see them up front. Yeah, they do a ton of damage to those biological spine crawlers, but once they're gone, you don't have that 4-5. Suddenly, these Mutalisks, they just spread out, get right on top of you, and that's pretty much it. They can kill everything super fast. And those spines, you know, the relocation of those so quickly was definitely the right call, and it won him the game. Fantastic play from NesTea. And, you know, our next map is going to be Frost, as you know, of course, we were going to have Frost, worst comes to worst, in any of these series. So this should be good.
I think it was a really funny game. It was a brilliant game in many ways, and it was a silly game in some others. But the moment that he, like, abandoned that Great Wall of Spines, it was like, where did all the spines go? Suddenly, like, that base is just completely empty. So he's just like, hey, I'm just going to take one base at a time. You know, this might be StarCraft, and normally we have a lot of bases running. This is a special game. One base at a time is more than enough. And also just saving so much time for all these mutas. I thought it was a really cool game. Like, it was not flawless by any means. And, you know, in the end, the spines and the fungals on those Archons, that helped a lot. But to be honest, I think when he has like 40 Mutalisk and 8 Corruptors, I think he can fight like 7 Phoenixes and 5 Archons. Unless he flies in like super clumped up, then obviously everything will die. But knowing that it's NesTea, he shouldn't do that. I think he could have almost won in a straight-up fight.
I still like seeing, you know, despite everything in that game, like you said, it was a brilliant game and funny in many ways. Still, building the Corruptors with nothing to shoot at is something I'm going to be thinking about for a long time. NesTea, you know, we see almost a little bit of autopilot, and then the Spire rebuild. I don't know. There's too much that happened in that game for me to.
I mean, at least in the last game, there was more to these Corruptors than there was in the previous.
Yeah.
Like, some players do often make a few Corruptors and then go into Mutalisk. They like making the Corruptors before the Mutalisk.
That's a very good point.
Like earlier today on Frost, that made absolutely no sense.
Revival did that, right?
Yeah, Revival did as well. Like last game, it was actually leading up to something, but earlier today, it was absolutely for nothing. Either way, we will have Frost again, so NesTea has a chance to redeem himself and also do something that no other player has done in the history of StarCraft 2, and that is eliminate Crank of the round of 32.
Yeah. He could potentially write some esport history here, as we actually have the same spawn locations from their first bout earlier this evening. In the top left, our red Protoss player representing Axiom. It is Crank. Needs 2 victories to move on to the round of 16 to continue his legacy against this player. Our blue Zerg in the southeast, it is none other than NesTea.
Indeed, similar spawn locations as we had earlier today. NesTea currently being up 1-0. It would be the first time in at least 3 seasons that NesTea is going to make it to the round of 16, which is of course being played offline. We are going to fly these players out to Southern California. Craig knows how that is, as he already made the trip to Cali twice. He went to New York for Season 1 in 2013, and of course he was part of the event we had in Germany not too long ago as well. This would be the very first time that Crank would be eliminated if he loses either this or the next map. But NesTea's not there yet. I still believe in Crank as well. I think he plays very solid. But I must say, like, NesTea's craziness and his unpredictability makes it kind of hard to play against him right now as well. Because if I was playing Protoss right now against NesTea, I'd be paranoid as hell. Like, I'd have no idea what to expect anymore.
Yeah. Crank's going to go for the Nexus first this time around. Doesn't feel like there's a significant threat, you know, of a drone being there in time to block it or any other shenanigans to worry about. While he also sends out a nicely timed probe scout. Won't immediately find NesTea, but I think if he sees that Overlord, he should know where he spawned.
Yes, he's probably going to find it in time. He's going to at least check the natural on it. Either way, it doesn't really make too much of a difference. He's going to follow it up with the gateway in the main base. So very economic opening over here for Crank. The same can be said for NesTea, who went full on economy and also expand towards the middle of the map. I'm really surprised. I saw Revival do this yesterday twice on Frost. Against Pick, Baby, and Hawk, and now we also see NesTea do it. Because very often you see Zerg players take this space rather than this one, because this one is quite vulnerable to certain warp-in timings. But I guess, like, if he didn't really know what we know. I guess he was worried, well, what if he spawns here? Then if I take the space over here, then I'm also in a very dicey position.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential things that can happen. We've seen it in even in the PvP that high ground can be used very, very effectively against you. Crank's probe comes in, and not only, of course, does he realize, hey, okay, your spawning pool is really late, it's a free hatch build. He knows, well, yeah, of course he hasn't checked for where exactly that third base is yet, but he can pretty comfortably do whatever he wants to do as well. And
like his opening is very similar to what we saw yesterday from a Hawk and Pick Baby. So I wonder as well if Crank is going to do the same thing, you know? Drop a pylon soon over here, warp in either 2 or 3 gates, warp in 3 gates in the front, or maybe 2 and then hide 1 in the main. And then just start warping in either Stalkers. I still like Stalkers, but I seem to be alone in this case, so I'm going to drop it. And I'm just going to say, warp in a bunch of Zealots. And then with your Mothership Core, you're able to cancel the base.
Crank's Zealot at his gateway. He's locked in.
No.
Poor little fella.
Oh, that actually really stinks.
He never had a chance.
Well, actually, he has a lot of chance. He has a lot of time to think about life.
He'll be the longest surviving Zealot we've had in a game of StarCraft.
Yeah, eventually he could make his way out of it with a warp prison. Yeah. Or if these minerals will be mined out.
That's a long time to wait.
He has a lot of time to do push-up and crunches over here and strive for greatness. And one day this Zealot...
He'll break out and kill every last Zergling.
If Zealots could level up... Oh, wow! Man, this Zealot is so bad. He's like, I ain't gonna wait for that. So this kind of gives me the feeling that Crank wants to at least be aggressive with gateways. Otherwise, he's not that worried right now about one Zealot. Normally you won't kill a Pylon for a Zealot unless you want to use that Zealot offensively.
Yeah. It decides the life of that Zealot is worth
Oh,
more.
the Sentry was going to be stuck as well. All right.
Ah, that makes a bit more sense.
A little bit sloppy there, of course, by Crank. Infuriating as well for him. Not necessarily like the end of the world, I like to say, but definitely does suck a little bit. He's with 3 gateways. He also has +1 on the way, but so far he has not shown us any signs. He doesn't have any profile on the map that he wants to do something about this 3 hatch before pool opening from NesTea. And this super late gas as well. Like, look at NesTea. Like, he starts researching speed at a time that it could have been finished up already for a while.
Fast third again, I guess. Oh, the probe changes its course. Is he going to go for the outer third? Yes, he is. So, expanding towards the center himself, Will Crank. And the lair is on the way for NesTea back home. He's doing mostly what we've seen, except this time around, no evolution chambers. So, well, okay, now he's adding them on, so just not as early.
I'm starting to be a little worried for Crank over here. Like, I know that he's capable of pulling this off, but I would be very worried if I would be in a Protoss position like this. Like, you're gonna go up to 3 bases at the 7-minute 30-second mark, which is early for a Protoss, don't get me wrong, but it's not like NesTea is trying to put some aggression here or something. He has played so incredibly greedy. He was up like 14 workers. Now he's even getting static defenses, which of course will be useful throughout the entire game. This is a fake Oracle that's not going to be able to achieve a whole lot, but NesTea is going to be up like 20-30 workers if he wants to. He can go up, like right now he's up 15 workers. He's making 8 more drones. That is insane, man.
NesTea is definitely really shown that he's willing to focus on exploiting any economic advantage humanly possible, and I feel like it's almost to the point where like, is not doing any damage more like worse to yourself at this point. And I don't know. These sentries are going to keep any of these Zerglings from coming out though.
If NesTea starts spreading creep and he starts making a little bit of a creep highway, then I think a good Hydra Ling attack would be devastating. Like, he could break a lot of Hydralisk of the economy that he currently has. He's up 26 workers against a Protoss player that doesn't really have Colossus on the available in the near future. These 2 gates are not even morphed yet. This attack by Crank, this is like an in-between attack and push, which normally, you know, against a very greedy Zerg that could maybe go up to 4 bases and then try to rush Hive and is not making anything else, could be successful. Against all these Hydras, this is not going to work at all. Like, there's just no way in hell.
Hydras are so good versus gateway units.
I'm really worried for Crank right now. This could very well be the first time in the career of Crank that he's not going to make it to the round of 16 in WCS America. He's making 2 pylons as well. Like, he hasn't saturated, he hasn't focused on pro production, so he's kind of banking on this working, but I don't think that it can work.
Well, the time warp hits the Hydras, but he has enough time to slip out of it. A couple force fields will lock one of them in. The drones are even going to escape, though. And right now, he's putting himself in a position where he can no longer retreat. He has 1 recall available, though, and I feel like he might have to use it soon. The Hydras are kind of dancing around. It's a Hydralisk drone Zergling army.
And these drones are actually quite useful. Those are good force fields, though, for Crank. That is definitely a start. He also kept his pylons alive, so that was pretty good. But there's still so many Hydralisks on the map. There are 40, 30. Actually, a lot of them are falling. Some really good force fields for Crank.
This work so far. Fantastic trades up to this point. But, you know, those drones can go to the bottom left base. That 4th that was produced by NesTea. And that extra little spur of economy. 9 more Hydralisks coming out. Yeah, the Zealots in production, but the Sentry energy is getting quite low. Force fielding those Hydralisks into you know, an advantageous position for Crank is going to slowly but surely become more and more difficult as time goes by.
Yeah, I mean, so far it's actually quite promising. Like, he's definitely not down and out just yet. He has 24 stalkers, 7 sentries, and a multi score. Some would even say that he's currently winning, as +1 is not ready yet for the Hydras. Hydra speed is not ready. NesTea was supply blocked as well at a very dark moment. Spent most of his money on that. Drones will be pulled again. Hydras are positioned very well, though. The power of the Hydra, is it going to be overwhelming, or will it be the Protoss army?
He's got a great concave to fight against him with, Kevin. Those force fields are nice, but the forces on the right are still able to attack these Hydras, do a little bit more damage than these Stalkers. The next warp in for Crank is coming. He did kill a lot of drones during all of this as well. Supply getting closer and closer between these 2 players. The Zergling reinforcements might be what he needs versus these Stalkers, though, really able to do the extra damage damage. There's no more Zealots to handle those Zerglings. And the Hydralisks, have they done it? He's got 78 supply versus 61. Crank potentially being eliminated from WCS America for the first time before the round of 16. Waits for his next weapon, retreats, but 4 Hydras, more Zerglings coming out. And once Hydralisk speed is done, you don't have a choice to run away anymore.
Yeah, but Craig should just back off right now. Like, obviously, if
he's got his third, yeah.
If he's gonna try to keep making this happen, I don't think it's gonna happen. Even though, like, he did slow down the Zerg economy quite a bit. Gateway units, of course, not very good against Hydralisk, but Crank doesn't have to make this happen. He doesn't have anything available that's going to be good against Hydra, so maybe he feels like he can transition. But he's even in workers, he's 3 bases. Normally, you know, if you're even on workers and you're 3 bases as a Protoss player, you're loving life.
Yeah, I'd actually totally agree with you with how many workers he was able to kill. NesTea's not resaturating that natural. He is only pumping out Hydralisks and Zerglings. The only thing I'm scared about now is even if Crank decided to go home, does he have the army he needs to defend against a counterattack?
Yeah, that would of course be very hard, like especially because it's such a wide open area. He would need some miraculous force fields. He doesn't have a Modesty Core anymore either, so he doesn't have Photon Overcharge buying time for himself or Time Warp. Crank is actually just gonna go all out with this. Look at the amount of gateway units that he's warping in. NesTea probably can't believe his eyes. He's like, really? Like, it just did not work. What makes you think that it's going to work this time? I even have Hydra speed. Well, here comes that Protoss army. It's 68 against 83 supply. It's Hydra Ling against gateway units. Normally, this doesn't end good for the Protoss player.
The Zerglings get all over the Stalkers. He's able to clean them up, sure, but these Hydras still maintain a fantastic concave. Crank's army is crumbling under the might of NesTea's Hydralisk force. With that speed, he can give chase to this army, and he's going to retreat, but that's not enough. GG, NesTea will go on to the round of 16 for the first time in WCS America. We have no Crank in the round of 16.
Yeah, all good things come to an end, all streaks, and eventually, I'm surprised, and I think it's very impressive that NesTea has done this. This was not an easy group. I actually thought that Masa had a good chance against NesTea as well. But the veteran is showing us that he has still got it. He's still got that magic touch. And even though he lost early today against Crank, he has somehow done it. And let's not forget a pretty ridiculous series, especially that King Young game. That was just madness. Man. That had like NesTea written all over it. Or at least like NesTea past super badass GSL baller champion. You know, like NesTea going into craziness mode. Cool series and cool result. We have Bomber and NesTea making it through Group B over here and making the trip to Southern California. Who could have thought?
Yeah,
I did not expect this at the start of the day.
Bomber and NesTea, fantastic results for this group, and you know, really, really great play out of both those guys. We saw both Bomber and NesTea kind of pull out interesting strategies, interesting ways of handling the matchups that they had to play today. Of course, this does mean that Crank is going to have to requalify next season for WCS America if he wants to continue to play in Premier League, as well as Masa. Both 2 players that did fantastic jobs, but that, of course, means we have another Terran and another Zerg player moving on to the round of 16 to come down here and play in California.
Yep, which I think is going to be a lot of fun just to go through the entire day once more. This was the second day of WCS America Premier League action. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. We saw Bomber earlier today go up against Masa. He struggled a little bit. It wasn't easy, but in the end, Bomber was able to win that series. And we saw Crank defeat NesTea the first time they played. We saw Bomber take out Crank pretty convincingly, I'd say. I think Bomber played very well that series and showed us that he has still some magic Bomber in him as well. Qualifies for the round of 16. Of course, that was in the line of expectation. But then we started with the lower bracket. We saw NesTea versus Masa. We saw drone fight SCVs. Yes, that kind of stuff happens, and drones are apparently a little stronger. We saw Crank go up against NesTea for the final series of the day. I think the highlight was King Young Station. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that was a pretty awesome game to witness. Back and forth the whole way through. I was pulling for Crank quite a few times in that match, and then NesTea just, I mean, he went full NesTea. Did exactly what, you know, you would have expected him to do a while ago, and he was able to bring out some of that old fire in today's matches. Really, really great play from him. And yeah, I'm also gonna have to hold in my pocket that drone versus SCV game, the fist fight competition.
Just wanted to double check. This is going to be the 3rd time in NesTea's WCS America career that he is going to make it to the round of 16. He made it for Season 1 when he went to New York, and he also made it for Season 3. Neither of those times, though, he was able to advance to the round of 8. We'll see. It would definitely be really cool. Like it would spice things up. It would be something unique because we have a lot of these old school Koreans in WCS America. But to see someone like NesTea go very far, like he got. Let's not forget that like 2 weeks ago, NesTea was down 0-2 in Challenger League. And I don't think that anyone actually thought that, like, hey, 3 weeks from now, and NesTea is going to qualify for WCS America round of 16. Like, no, NesTea, you were almost down and out in Challenger. This is not supposed to happen.
Yeah, the NesTea is here to just make sure that we don't forget about who our great players of yore were. As you know, NesTea and Bomber kind of mentioned at the beginning. It's like that's a combination that you'd expect from a while ago. But of course, you guys can see the groups for the rest of Premier League laid out. Of course, our next group that we'll be doing, I believe, next week, Group C. We're gonna kick things off with Oz, Puck, Violet, and QXC. Another awesome group. 2 Americans playing in as well.
Yeah, really hard to call that one. I believe it's going to be played on Monday because we got some catching up to do. Then on Tuesday, it's going to be Tasia, Neep, Czech, and Top. A very stacked group. I can't wait to cast that one either. And of course, in the future, we still have a lot of amazing players coming in action. But especially Group C, of course, is going to be the next one. So that's what we're going to focus on right now. Allspark, Violet, and QXC. With Alls, we have the runner-up of last season, WCS America. With Puck, we have one of the most successful Americans. With Violet, we have a unique story of a Korean who came back to the US and is finally able to play in America again. And of course, QXC, this is the first time in QXC's career that he has a chance to display his skills in Premier League. Or maybe he was part of Premier League Season 1 a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's in 2013 Season 1. I think that's the only time that QXC was.
Yeah, perhaps. Can't remember exactly myself, but I'm
Maybe
excited
not
to see Puck play, of course. Oz, as you said it, runner-up from last season against Hyun was a fantastic grand final that we had. So we had a great day, guys. Thank you so much. And I want to say, of course, thanks for all the tweets that we've been seeing with that hashtag WCS at StarCraft and at ESLTV. It's been a blast reading you guys' comments and feedback throughout the show.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and we'll be back next week. So see you guys then. Thanks everyone for watching, and have a lovely evening.